Thank you. That was a good intro. That was good. So now that I'm introduced by the famous David Kelly, so welcome. Today is nice and cold. It's nice and cold in here, but excited to be back home. 4 games on the road, really difficult. And looking at the schedule, like starting off at home, which I was really happy about, then 4 games on the road, not happy, and going back to the Pacific Northwest twice. But now 3 games at home, I'm very excited to be back. So we can unpack our bags.
It's in the rearview mirror now, but like when you saw the schedule and you saw those back-to-back trips, which I don't think has ever happened before for Arizona, what was your reaction? Did you have any recourse to change?
Well, my initial reaction first, what I looked at was, we never start at home. I don't know. I think I don't know. You have to look this up, but probably in like 7 years, I don't think we ever opened at home because of the bowl game. So I was just so excited about being at home. I was like, whatever. But I honestly looked at those 4 road games, but I didn't really think about it that much. It was hard. When I look at our schedule and how it shaped up, I've said this before, like I would have really did the non-conference differently. We were young. I didn't anticipate so many changes, and it was a really hard non-conference. We had a hard Bahamas trip, UNLV, Gonzaga. Those are hard games. So with a young team, difficult. And then I knew the Pac-12 would be very hard. So with 4 road games in the Pac-12, I just knew it wasn't going to be easy. I knew there was a potential of going 0-4 in those stretch, or 2-2, or it's hard winning at home. And I think a stat I looked at was the Pac-12 away games. I think it's 11-29. So playing on the road. So that just shows you how hard. I know it's hard to play in McHale, so people don't want to play here. But I was also looking at the schedule and thankful that we weren't going to the mountains. So going to the mountains is like a trip that you're like, oh no. So it is what it is. But I didn't realize we hadn't ever done that, but that sounds right.
Did you give any consideration to just staying up there and not coming back, going back?
No, because you miss too much school. They would miss, I don't even think that would be allowed. Because they would miss Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That's a lot. That would be like the Bahamas trip. I think we probably miss less with the Bahamas, so no. Even though, but it's long. It was like, in memory, we got stuck there for a day. So we normally come back Sunday. We came back like Monday night, I think. So that was even harder. But yeah, no. It was.
Any input on the conference schedule, or they just?
Oh, if I did, it'd be way different. If I did, we'd never go to the mountains. We would I would have done things. We would open up at home, and I would pick the teams that we open up at home with. No, I think we have input. Like, do we agree? But usually you can't really disagree. I think the input we have is I would have done it differently too, because like as a women's program, you never want to play like the men play Thursday, you play Friday. It's like no one's gonna go to 4 games in a row. So that kills us. I would never coincide with softball. Like I would do all those things really different.
I've heard that the Big 12, at least in volleyball, they have some input from the coaches, like they do a poll and let them say these teams need to play each other for competitive reasons, and then they say geography, and they take all that into account. Have you heard any of that?
No, honestly, people ask me about the Big 12. I'm so focused on the Pac-12. It's like I'm not even thinking about it, which is weird. But the Pac-12 is so hard. It's like I don't even look ahead that much. So if that's the case, that's good. I think there's just so many factors that go in the scheduling. I would want more conference games. Half of the league last year wanted that, half didn't. So I think there's so many different reasons. I don't. But if you have input, I think it's good. I think ours is more of a formula, and there's a whole formula to it. So it rotates. But I would probably do it to where you play everybody twice, where it's even, so it's not in rotation. But I don't do scheduling. I wouldn't want to. I would just do things different. But I don't know if it even works out like that. But now we have the bye week, which we didn't have before. But I would do 20 games because it's really hard to get games. Usually we're finishing our season at the very end. For Stanford, us, UCLA, and those places are easier because it's easy to get to LA. But yeah, I'm curious to see how the Big 12 is going to be. Are we going to? I don't think you have partner schools, so for me that's better. When you're a mom, and you have a family, it's way better because you come back. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. So, but I've never done it. I've never done it a different way, so I don't even know the difference.
You lost, obviously, the 4 games by 9 points. What common denominators have you found in the way those games have not gone for it? Well,
Certain quarters that really hurt us. mistakes down the stretch, which are young mistakes. I think the Oregon State game really hurt because we fought so much and because of offensive rebound to lose, and you know, 8 players, or actually we had 7 or 8 players, like double overtime. That was hard. I think that was heartbreaking. But I love the fact that we're in games. Like, these teams are better. Like, they're better, they're more experienced, they have more depth. But I love the way we fight. I love how we don't give up. I love that we're doing good things within those stretches. But I think the consistency, the discipline down the stretch, and the little things are the difference. And our team doesn't have a large margin of error. So we have, and I always say it's like not the last play. It's like the missed free throw box out in the first quarter. Like, it doesn't come down to one shot. So I think that we're learning, and our freshmen and young and new players are in situations where they're getting experience. Like, if Brea had a chance to win a game winner missed it. But then the next time she has that, she'll make it. And I remember what makes me a little bit optimistic as I look back like 3 years ago. I think it was a year before we went to the national championship. We lost a ton of close games. Like, we were Oregon State, and all these games were really close, but then the next year we won them. So I think that the growth is there. Keeping this freshman group, they'll be way better next year, and they're getting a ton of experience. So I think hopefully it'll pay off long term, even though I don't know the last time I lost 4 games in a row. I don't even remember my second year here.
I know you focus on defense, but on offense, you thought you'd be sharing a little bit more. You've got the same number of assists per game as last year, but a lot more turnovers.
Yeah.
From an offensive standpoint, what do you guys need to do to share the ball more? Because it looked like there were some times that, people were in wrong places, or the ball, there's an open player, just missed. What do you guys need to do to fix those offensive problems?
Yeah, so it's funny because, like, we need to get better defensively, but, like, we're, like, one of the best offensive teams in the Pac-12, like 74 points a game. So, like, it's funny when people talk about offense, I'm like, it's clearly not the offense. We're 74 points a game without scorers. Like, we score as many points as last year, and we don't have shooters and stuff. So, and without the ball moving like it should. So I tell them it's not the scoring. It's like different if we were scoring 50 points a game, but you can't force 74 and give like 75. So I think for us, it's the organization sometimes. Like, when you take a bad shot or a forced shot, it's like a turnover. And because we're young and it's a lot of new people, there are more turnovers because just the chemistry between the teams. So cutting that down is really important. And before it was coming from like certain players, like the posts were getting a lot of them from double teams, whereas Mary was at the 3 early in the season, she was getting a lot. So that was contributing. But I think now, Skylar's a freshman playing a lot. Brea, Jada, they're freshmen, so they turn the ball over a little bit more because of the experience and the pace of the game. I think offensively, the things that we can improve on, but improve so we score a couple more points. Like, we don't need to score 75, 80 points. I think we need to, I would be fine if we scored 65, but then your opponent scored 55. So that's how we were in the past. Now we're scoring 74, and like, we're losing some games. So we have to get better defensively. We have to get better at boxing out, which we have, but I told you that was a focus. We're doing every day. Now we have to get still better at it because it's still hurting us in games. But I think offensively, sharing the ball. I think that as a coach, I never want someone to shoot over 3 people. Like, that is not what I want. And I think we overall have a team that's pretty unselfish. But I think that some players don't understand like timing of things. So I think that as you become a better player, like, think of Helena, she's very experienced and she has a high basketball IQ. If Helena does her job and she draws 3 people, like, she's done a great job. Now, maybe she's hot and takes that shot, but that isn't the right shot. So you have to teach. So if I draw 3 people, that means I have teammates open. So they're going to have I may make this shot, but they're going to have a higher percentage shot. And in the end, when you have to guard everybody, you're a better team. So I think as a coach, you have to teach people, and it takes time. And what I talked to some players about is, if someone comes here and they're a freshman and there's 18, they've been doing stuff for 14 years. They've played a certain way for 14 years. Most have came from programs where they were the main person taking 30 shots. they probably weren't playing a lot of defense, and they were the star. Like, if you ask Skylar, that's a transition she's made. She was a star. She had like 9 rebounds a game. Skylar never boxes out. She's learning, but she said in the radio, she didn't have to. She's an athlete, and she outjumped people. College is different, so I have to break habits that are just how people have played their whole lives. Brea has never boxed out, and she's never moved out of the key. She's always been the tallest, and so when you're the tallest, you stand there in high school, you get the rebound like this, and you outlet it. Like, it's different in college. You have to now, you're playing against really good people. You have to box out. You have to move. You have to go guard the ball. It's not high school where they can't come off and shoot. So you can't sit in the paint. So it's a process, and it takes time. And I think, like, teaching players, like right now we're teaching Kaylin. Kaylin has always been Kaylin's a great player, and she's a phenomenal scorer. But I think she's always been on teams where she had to do everything and had to have 35 points. And she doesn't have to now, so she's learning, and she's getting better. Think about how much better she is than last year. She's learning you may draw people, and it's not for you, it's for someone else. Like, you attacking the rim isn't always to get yourself a shot. It's to get your teammate a better shot. Or you may have a good shot, your teammate might have a great shot. So it's teaching every day. And I think that if you watch, she's improved on that. I think she's improved on not forcing so much, improved on looking for her teammates, setting up her teammates. But it's not perfect, but that's the progression of becoming a good player. Because great players, they can score, but they make people around them better. I think you would prefer that as a coach always versus someone, if you score 30 and you lose, it doesn't matter. So it's better, and I think the perfect example of that, which I see as a coach, is Legger Walker from Washington State. Last year, she was scoring like 20-some points, and they were pretty successful. She has transformed her game. She's playing the point guard more, and she's scoring 12, 13 points, but she's getting assist steal, and their offense is flowing, and she's running a team. And I think that's what you have to learn as a player. Everything isn't predicated on scoring. Like, great players, when you're going pro, they have a great assist-to-turnover ratio. They can score, but they make people around them better, and that's what great players do. And I've played with some of the best in the world, and they make people around them better. Example, Diana Taurasi. She will have, if David Kelly is, I know he's probably a good player, but if he is the worst player on the team, if he is the 15th on the team, Diana Taurasi will make him feel like he's a baller. She'll be like, I got you. Like, she's a great player. That's what she does. She'll make him feel good, so he comes in the game. It's like he'll be doing stuff, and that's what happens. And that's a learned process. It takes time.
Gino at UConn has made some comments about the connection potentially between COVID and injuries in women's basketball, whether it be from a side effect of contracting the virus or maybe conditioning during and after the pandemic. Have you seen anything like that where you think maybe injuries are up because of that?
No, no. But usually what Gino says is pretty right. Like, I'm not just jumping on his bandwagon, but he is someone that tells the truth, that it's what everybody else wants to say. But I don't know the correlation. I think that where I've probably seen it affect people is like conditioning. I think that, I don't know if it gets scar tissue in your lungs or something. So people have had it numerous times. I think just conditioning-wise are behind, but I don't have like a correlation between that. I think, where I think it hurt players more is mentally. I think that it's caused a lot of things mentally. I think it's caused just a lot of anxiety, and I think it's also caused this generation to not want to be at work every day. And I think I have another set of things I think it's caused, but I don't know about the injuries. I think more the mental injuries.
What do you think that your team has dealt with? What did you make of the situation at TCU and them having to cancel games?
I mean, TCU had 15 players. So I don't know if 10 players get hurt that fast. I don't know. I don't know. I could have canceled 4 games this year. I don't. I think that that you play. And if you have 5 players, obviously you can't play, or if you're in a situation where you can't play. But there's multiple times this year I could have canceled games. But I'd rather play. My objective is to give the young players experience. And I think that a lot of coaches, and I'm not saying TCU because I don't know their situation, I haven't looked, but I think a lot of coaches strategically use that, and we saw a lot of that with COVID, that you can compete, but you also use it to your benefit and not play certain opponents. And I think you see that throughout basketball, and we saw that a lot in COVID. So I don't know post-COVID if it's as easy, but yeah. So I'm not canceling games. We played exhibition with 5. I could have canceled.
Where does Jada rank on the toughness scale on your team?
I mean, she's one of the toughest kids. And Jada, we always say, like, you got to be a dog. Jada's a dog. Jada is like a natural-born leader. She's vocal as a freshman. She's not afraid to speak up. She's not afraid to say the tough things. But when I talk in film to the team, Jada's the first. So sometimes I have to say someone besides Jada. You know, because like I know she's gonna answer every time, which is good. I love that. But like I have to make other people. She's tough. She's wants to be great. She's transformed her body. I'm asking her to do things she's never done before. And the funny thing is, if you look at Jada, she's not the best athlete. She's smart, and she's like it reminds me a lot of how I evaluated Kelsey Plum. Kelsey Plum wasn't the best athlete, but you knew she was going to be good because of her mentality, her work ethic. And I think there's a lot of same traits with Jada. Jada's not the best athlete, but then she's one of our best defenders because of her effort. Like she may get beat sometimes, but like she doesn't guard our worst player. Like every team you have to like put someone on the worst player. So every game you got to be like, okay, this is our bad defender. We got to put him on the worst player. You know, and with Jada, that's not the case. Jada sometimes has one of the best players, and she's not the best athlete. But we put her on someone to guard full court to do because we know that she's going to give 110% to do it. So it's a different mentality.
She ended up getting switched onto Peely a couple times down the stretch against Utah. How did you size up?
I mean, she's going to fight, so like I would be okay with that. Like other people, I would say, oh no, they're just going to sit behind. She has the heart, and she may get beat, and Peely's going to beat her if she gets it on the block, but she's going to fight. She's going to make it hard. Like she's not going to give up, and that's her mentality, and that's why she's going to be a great player.
Do you track how many times players hit the floor?
We don't. Well, we track like first to the floor, like for like passion plays. So like first to dive.
But not like trying to draw.
Not like
getting knocked out.
no, because it's only like once or twice a game.
Anecdotally, does it seem like maybe she ranks pretty high?
Yeah, I think it does. I think okay. So I can put it this way: there's never going to be a time that like they're standing this close. There's sometimes where like you will get on the floor. We point this out in film. We call it a loaf, and then you'll kind of stand there. There will never be a time if she was on the floor. If that's Jada's gonna be diving too. So there's never gonna be a question about that. Like she's always low and low. Loafs for us are like if you don't get on the floor and she is, or like you don't have like the effort to do something. Jada's are always very low. She's always in a fight. Now she may get beat. But she is going to try hard. She's going to be fighting, and you may beat her like, oh, darn. We may say pop back a little bit, but she's never going to, like, give up on plays. She's never going to approach a game with a weak mentality. She's never going to, like, lay down and die. She's never going to not compete. She's consistent. So, like, I love coaching her, and I can't wait to coach her for 4 years.
How did you evaluate Bria's tough weekend offensively?
Yeah, like, so how I evaluated it, and I talked to her about it, was, like, a month ago, she would have, like, I think she was 0 for 7 one game. A month ago, she would have, like, not done anything else. I think where her growth has happened, like, she was off. She had an off night. She was kind of thinking about getting blocked, rushing some shots. It's okay. But what I love is that she then got 8 rebounds. She, like, had some good defensive plays. She fought. Like, she tried to run the floor a little bit better, so that is a sign of growth. She's a freshman, and typically at this time, freshmen hit this wall. And it's like fatigued, it's like a long season, it's still a long way to go. That's a normal thing with freshmen, and she'll be fine. I think she'll have a really good weekend this weekend. But she had a tough little stretch, and that's okay. And I think that she's getting the experience, she's working through things, she's still playing, so that's gonna pay off later, and it's gonna pay off at the end of the season. But yeah, I just talked to her about not changing her shots, and I talked to her about, like, think of the greatest shot blockers in the country. They may average 2 blocks, 2.3. Like maybe Brittany Griner, maybe she averaged, what did she average? Block shots like 2.7 or maybe 3? And that's a 6'8", like dog, Olympian. So the chance of getting your shot blocked 7 times in a game is like not gonna happen. So I told her like, that's the greatest shot blocker. So people she's going against, maybe at the most they average 2. So you're gonna get fouled more, score more, than you're gonna get blocked. So I told her, who cares? And I said, you're a freshman, they should block you. It's like, don't worry about that and don't alter your shot and don't rush. But I think as we develop Brea more and continue to work on skill, continue to feed her confidence, she's gonna get counter moves that make it easier for her to score. So I'm not worried about that at all.
And speaking of size, you got Cam and Kiki this weekend with Stanford. I mean, was Stanford bringing, specifically for Brea, going against someone like Bring?
Yeah, so it's like, welcome to the big league, Brea. You know, you got Pete Lee. You only got a couple, you get All-American every weekend. It's okay. But I think it's good experience for her. I think it's stuff that's going to pay off later. She's going against All-Americans. Like, they're going to be pros. And so I think for her, it's like a chance to go at them. And I think that's fun. I think she probably gets nervous, but to go and play against Cameron Brink, like, she's going to be a WNBA player. Like, she's a great player. So I think for Brea, I think it's exciting. Like, will there be nerves? Yeah, but that's what it's all about. I think that's how you learn. You get better. You get better when you're uncomfortable. So she's getting better for sure, because she's uncomfortable probably every weekend. But I mean, I think if you as a freshman can hold your own, and you're going against these players that are way older and better players right now, it's where you want to be. And I think it's only motivating to work harder to get better. And I mean, think of all the steps that Brea has taken. She's transformed her body. She's improving. She's starting in college. I think there's a lot of positive things that are good for her, and that she can look back on and say, wow, I remember as a freshman, I went against this person, and that's just how you grow. And if you want to be the best, you got to play against the best, and she's getting a chance to play against the best. And I think that's exciting. So she probably have a different view.
This is the first time we've talked to you since Dave
Yeah.
was let go. Just if you could just comment on your relationship with him, and what it's been like to work for him.
So I love Dave. He was a great leader. I followed him. He's someone who gave myself and my family a tremendous opportunity. I know he didn't hire me, but he supported me from day one. He's the one who's always believed in me. He would come to all my games, him or Liz, and sit courtside. And sometimes when he couldn't make a game, he would text me and be like, "Oh, you don't need to text me. It's okay." Like, I don't really pay attention to that, but he supported me and believed in me, and I believed in him. And I think that no one understands what these jobs entail. It's really easy. Like, we have the best ADs on Twitter, and we have the best coaches on Twitter. It's really easy to tweet about what you would do. And there's like the reality of what we do every day that no one understands until you're in it. I didn't even understand until I was a head coach. As an assistant coach, you don't even understand what it is to be a head coach. And so there's so many factors and so many people's lives you influence, and I think he did a good job here. And I think that there's so many things that are out of your control as an AD and a coach, and I think people don't realize that. So I will maintain a relationship with him, and I love him and his family.
You have said a number of times you recruited Brea in the 8th grade. What did you see her? When I talked to her last month, she said she thought she sucked in the 8th grade. So what did you see in her?
Well, she definitely didn't. That wasn't the truth. Really good hands, good size, a really good kid from a good family. I knew that she had a really good high school coach that was going to develop her and teach her. Terry Bamford at San Diego is a really high-level coach at La Jolla Country Day. And I knew that she was going to only continue to get better, and she did every year. And I think it's evident because she was one of the youngest players on USA basketball. So I think her skill is there. Now the areas she needs to develop in, I think rebounding she can get better at, and some of that will help if she boxes out and gets some more concentration on that. Finishing in different ways around the rim, like finishing with her left hand and midline, those are areas she can improve in. She has a nice elbow shot, but continuing to be consistent on that. But I think she has a chance to be really good. And I always say that she's one of the few post players that wants to be a post. I'm telling you, you guys should do a story on this. Every other player wants to be a different player. Like every other 5 wants to be a 4. Every other 4 wants to be a 3-4. People want to be a face-up or all this and that. Like, she wants to be a post and wants to be good. So she's going to be good. And I think that you'll see her just progress. And we're committed to developing her and keeping her and making her really good. So she's going to be good. And you already see it. She's in the best shape she's been in her life. And so she's working, and it takes time. And she'll continue to finish better and continue to work on counter moves because people really try to take away her right. So as she grows, she has to have a left hand or have a counter. But she doesn't need 20 moves. She needs 2-3 good moves. And so we're keeping it simple with her, and she'll develop. So you'll see her even better next year.
Time for 1 or 2 more. What's the scout for Cal and then for Stanford?
Yeah, Cal is much improved. Every week we turn around, we have great teams. I'm excited for Tara to come here too with Stanford. Not excited to be playing against them, but excited to celebrate. And hopefully one of those, she had a beautiful jacket from Nike. I don't want to add to those stripes, but, celebrating her and women's basketball for a huge accomplishment, that's amazing. So I think that's going to be great to have her in here. I think the fans will love that. And then Cal, they're good. Every team has gotten better. They shoot it better. They're better inside. I think it's going to be a tough game for us, but we need to win some games at home. We have 3 games at home, then we go to UCLA and USC, top 8 in the country. So we need to be able to win here. I think for us, the things we have to do well is we have to, defensively, like on-ball defense a little bit better. We have to box out and rebound a little bit better. And I think just cut down our turnovers, like you said, definitely. That's always something. And typically we're a team that has a low turnover ratio. And this year it's a little bit worse. So that's for me, it's kind of like, ooh. But we are doing some great things. We're forcing turnovers, we're getting steals, we're scoring points. So it's funny because everybody talks about offense, like it's not the offense, because we're at 74 points. Like before we could barely score 60, but then the teams are scoring 50. But think about the championship year, we weren't averaging 74 points. Like we couldn't score as well, but we defended way better. So now we score better without a lot of prolific scorers. Like we had Arie that year. This year, we don't have like a go-to prolific scorer or an All-American. So defensively, we just have to get a little bit better. I think the struggles that we've had, even on the road, we were kind of exposed. We were changing different on-ball defense and struggling sometimes. Like against, in one of the games, we had to go to like a different zone. We've never had to do that. So that tells me we aren't like solid man-to-man yet. So if you have to go to a zone, to kind of save the game, like at Washington, like that's not good because typically, like my teams, we change our pick-and-roll defense to get more aggressive or passive, and that's how we change the game. I don't really like to go zone. So we have to improve, and I think that one of the really important things for us is getting 5 people in sync and on the same page. Not like 4 people doing something and then one person doesn't box out, or 4 people denying, one person not. And that's been a kind of a struggle this year. And showing our players evidence of that has been really important in our process. So I'm hoping like we get over the hump, like just like our rebounding's got a little better. I'm hoping our defense can be more solid at home and just continue to grow. So we're improving because we're not going to win games otherwise. So.
What do you think about Cal? I mean, they lost Jada Curry after last year, and but they seem like a more complete team without her.
Well, they've added shooters, and they've added a 4-shooter, and they have a guard that can really shoot it. So I think they're just better and more depth, and just have added better players, and that's why people talk about the portal, but you got 2 good players that can score, you're better. So that's why the portal I think is so important for all of us because you can get good pretty fast. And I think that losing like Curry, and I'm not sure, I haven't followed her at Louisville, but it's just you kind of add the pieces, and their pieces have helped them score. I think transition defense, I think, is an area that we can kind of exploit so we can be good offensively in transition, but they're good and they're confident and they're winning games. And I think for us, we need to win some home games because those statistics on the road are pretty bad. And we statistically, we do well at home. So we need to win some games. Ideally, we'd want to go 2-3 at home or 3-3. Because going back to the LAs the next week, it's hard. So I think for us, focusing on this first game, Cal, we know it's going to be a battle, but I think that we're up for it. Cool, thanks. Thanks, guys.